created to have some fun together, sharing and singing. So, join and enjoy.
Our love for opera brings us together. Thanks for being with us in this trip.
Maestro Charles-Camille Saint-Saëns is very well known by the composition of Samson et Dalila. Composed, he finished this composition in 1877, but reached a true success until 1892. Some good 15 years it took to this composition to be well known and recognized as a masterpiece in the composition of music. Of course, to many people, this is an opera in 3 acts. However, there is still a debate on whether it is not an opera, but an oratorio. Based on the couple of facts, it is still argued that it is an oratorio rather than an opera. Truth is that we are not going to be engaging today in that discussion. But before we proceed to tell you a couple of words on the singers, the roles that are here sung, and a couple of anecdotes, I would like to first and very, very, very importantly thank people all over the world who have been following this series for over a year already. The complete series is already over a year, even though we have around half of that year only with this Parlons series. I would like to thank people, and it is my deepest appreciation. I will start naming the countries in no particular order. I would like to thank people in the US for being disloyal to the program. People in the UK, thank you very much. People in my native Mexico, thank you very much. People in Canada, French, La France, in this Parlons, the latest programs, we have been having a good number of French composition by master French composers. Thank you very much. People in Netherlands, thank you very much. People in Brazil as well, thank you very much. People in Germany, thank you. Spain, Italy, Australia, Sweden, Thailand, Japan, Argentinians, thank you very much. Malaysia, India, Hong Kong, Norway, Russia, the Philippines, Turkey, St. Kitts and Nevis, Indonesia, South Africa, Austria, Nigeria, Kenya, Vietnam, Poland, Myanmar, Pakistan, Taiwan, Ireland, Kuwait, South Korea, Guam, Lithuania, Slovakia, Morocco, the Dominican Republic, Portugal, Turkey, Denmark, Zimbabwe, Croatia, Colombia, Ukraine, Armenia, and Peru. As I think I have shared with you in the past, unfortunately, Katia has been so very busy that she has not been able to be with us in the latest programs, but I was still having this conversation with her lately. We never thought this podcast would reach this far. Thank you very much, my deepest appreciation, and I know that I am sharing Katia's appreciation as well. Now, let's go back to today's composition by Maestro Camille Saint-Saëns. And provided that it is a very well-known passage of the Bible, this that relates to Samson, this strongest man blessed by God, and the woman who at the end would reach his secret, Dalila, that for many people, Dalila is also, somehow in a similar way as Carmen, they are the stereotypes of women who can bring men to damnation. That is what is usually on the backs of the Dalila and Carmen. But talking a little more about this composition, it is true that it is not that often represented, even though it is not that long. It is not that often represented throughout the world. And there are two reasons for that. One of them is it takes a tenor of characteristics of a very powerful voice. I was thinking before recording today's program that maybe if we were allowed to compare the voices, this could be a similar case as in Othello. The tenor in Othello has his dramatic voice of a tenor, even a baritone with strong high notes could sing Othello, and somehow similarly Samson could be something like that, a powerful, a huge voice of a tenor, which explains why there are only a few names in the past 4 or 5 decades of singers who have been able of singing this role. Also, even though it demands, and of course is one of the big stars of Camille Saint-Saëns, this Samson, truth is that even though he sings lots, maybe over 60% of the time he's on stage singing, truth is that he doesn't have an aria or any musical chapter in the throughout this composition that really brings our attention to. Othello has two short solos as well as a very nice duet and other scenes where he sings along with Iago and with Desdemona. But as for the case of Samson, he's not that way written, which makes it somehow a very unfaithful, not a very pleasant role to sing, difficult to find a singer. And when you find one, it turns out that he doesn't really have an area where he can show his music and his vocal capabilities. It really is somehow discouraging for some singers. Now, that would be one of the reasons. The other reason is that the star of the night needs to be Dalila, because Dalila is to be sung by a mezzo. And it is, one can understand that this role was given to a mezzo because the lower, darker voices are usually associated to, I could say dark intentions or people who are not so kind. That's the stereotype that resides in opera, and that's what we face when we see Dalila is a mezzo or sometimes a contralto. Of course, we have had great mezzos and contraltos singing this role. I would like to make a small pause here to talk about the Mexican mezzo Estrella Ramirez. Estrella Ramirez, even though she is still active, she was in the top of her voice in the 80s and early 90s, and she was one of the most spectacular Dalilas that have ever been sung on stage. With a very powerful presence, with a very powerful voice, with a great understanding of the character herself and the vocal power and the vocal intention that she needed to provide to the role is what makes Estrella Ramirez one of the greatest Dalilas ever sung, and maybe the greatest Mexican Dalila for the past decades. And Dalila, the mezzo, was given 3 nice musical solos. Well, the Manqueo Vibrata one can contend that it is actually partly of a duet, which is not really true, but we will get back to that. And let me tell you about Printemps qui commence. What can a singer desire more than a beautiful melody that he or she is to sing? That is the case for Printemps qui commence. And if you pay lots of attention to the way this was written, you will immediately notice that Maestro Saint-Saëns wrote the role of Dalila in a way with a music that is so charming, so seductive, you let me say that. The way it is written, it is not, at least for these parts where she's actually seducing Samson, spoken, well, sung, but still spoken in a way that is meant to seduce men. So, in Printemps qui commence, and before I start sharing a little of the words in this Printemps qui commence, I would like to say something. Of course, written in French, it translates very nicely into Spanish. And sorry, I really apologize for saying this, people who are native speakers of English, but it doesn't translate well into English. It doesn't sound nice. For instance, the phrase Printemps qui commence, la primavera que empieza y que trae la esperanza. It translates very easily, very softly into Spanish. Printemps qui commence, portant l'espérance aux cœurs amoureux, ton souffle qui passe de la terre efface le jour malheureux. So now that the prince is starting and brings hope with her, and our hearts in love. For instance, I am reading the translation that I have in the score, Aux cœurs amoureux, which translates easily into hearts that are in love. In English, it is translated into brings hope in her train. As our Italian friends very well say, traduttore traditore, isn't it? And so it continues with toute la automne et ta douce flamme viens sécher nos pleurs. And its sweet flame, it is translated in English as madness, and in its sweet flame, viens sécher nos pleurs, comes to dry our tears, tu rends à la terre par un doux mystère les fruits et les fleurs. En vain je suis belle, mon cœur plein d'amour, pleurant infidèle, attend son retour. Les fruits et les fleurs, en vain je suis belle, mon cœur plein d'amour, pleurant infidèle, attend son retour. Vivant d'espérance, mon cœur désolé, garde souvenance du bonheur passé. Even if you don't speak French, you can easily notice how it is written in such a lovely way that words that are uttered by Dalila can easily conquer any man's hearts. Mon cœur désolé, my desolated heart. Past delight yet blesses, love will not depart. Du bonheur passé, à la nuit tombante, j'irai tristement, m'asseoir au torrent, la Chanson ma tristesse, si revient un jour à lui ma tendresse, et la douce ivresse qu'un roulant amour garde à son retour un poco più lento ses scores. Chanson ma tristesse, si revient un jour. À lui ma tendresse, à lui ma tendresse, et la douce ivresse qu'un brûlant amour garde à son retour. And then the orchestra, with a very charming, still in seduction, seductive notes, wraps up this participation by Dalila, making one of the most beautiful moments in the history of opera with this printemps qui commence. This lover that is waiting for him to come back, chassant son retour. Of course, and before we go to the most expected, Mon cœur s'ouvre à ta voix, Dalila, very generously, because of course, Maestro Samson had to make it believable that Samson would fall in love for her. So another piece that he wrote for her for this great mezzo or contralto role is Amour viene de ma faiblesse. And it says, Amour viene de ma faiblesse translates into my love, come and help me from my weakness. Samson recherchant ma présence, ce soir doit venir en ce lieu. Tonight, Samson makes his obeisance this eve at my feet he will lie. Of course, he's talking about how she's going to make Samson to deliver the secret. Voici l'heure de la vengeance. Now the hour of my vengeance hastens. Qui doit satisfaire nos dieux? Our gods I shall soon glorify. Amour viene de ma faiblesse. I think I should mention also that even though I've been mentioning that it is written for a mezzo, it is usually more comfortable for a contralto because it is not a high mezzo as it could be, I don't know, the case of Eboli, or as it could be one of the Verdian mezzos. It is a mezzo that is more center and even more lower, which makes it easier for a contralto to sing. So she moves on with the content of Amour viene de ma faiblesse when she says, verse le poisson dans son sein, pour toy poison through Samson's heart. Fait que vaincu par mon adresse, Samson soit enchaîné demain. Let him be bound before tomorrow, a captive to my matchless art. Il voudrait, avant de son âme, pouvoir me chausser, me bannir. An issue he no longer would cherish, the passion he wishes were death. Can a flame like that ever perish, evermore my remembrance's faith? He rests my slave, his feet belie him. My brethren fear with vain alarms. I only of you I defy him. I told him fast within my arms. Oh love, amour, viens de ma faiblesse, verse le poisson dans son sang, fait que vaincu par mon adresse, Samson soit enchaîné des mains. Contre la mur, sa force vaine, et lui, le fort parmi les forts, lui qui d'un peuple rompt la chaîne, succombera sous mes efforts. And with those last phrases, she says, he will against my charms not battle long. With these words, Dalila is very much certain that she will defeat the resistance of Samson. And now it is the time to talk about the third and most important aria, or most well-known aria by Dalila, Mon cœur s'ouvre à ta voix. Not only mezzos, but sopranos as well have sung this immensely beautiful composition by Maestro Samson. And this is also called the aria of the seduction, because this is exactly what she sings a couple of minutes before she can take the secret from Samson on the source of her power, of his power and strength. You all know the story of these two biblical characters, so we will not go back to that. But let me tell you a couple of things about this lovely Mon cœur s'ouvre à ta voix. The words again translate into Spanish very nicely, and again, sorry to say this, I wouldn't like to be mean, but it really doesn't translate well into English. So it starts with Mon cœur s'ouvre à ta voix, como s'ouvrent les fleurs. Mi corazón se abre a tu voz, como se abren las flores a los besos de la aurora. My heart at thy sweet voice opens wide like the flower which the morn skins awakens. O baiser de l'aurora, mais oh, mon bien-aimé, mon bien séché mes pleurs, que ta voix parle encore. But that I may rejoice, that my tears no more shower, till thy love still unshaken. Dis-moi qu'à Dalila tu reviens pour jamais. Dile a Dalila que por siempre tú volverás. Redis à ma tendresse les serments d'autrefois, ces serments que j'aimais. Repeat thine accents tender, every passionate vow, O thou dearest of men. Redis à ma tendresse le serment d'autrefois, ce serment que j'aimais. Tendre parts here that for the mezzo or the contralto to show her musicality and the nice taste of singing music that she has. One of them is this previous passage of Ces serments que j'aimais. In Spanish, esos juramentos que yo amaba. Ces serments que j'aimais. Because if the singer chooses to do it's crescendo, diminuendo, and right after that decides to link, to make a legato to the following phrase that it is à répondre, so it translates into, or it could sound like Ce serment que j'aime. Répond à ma tendresse. Versez-moi libres. If you notice, these two past phrases start the same way. It's not a high note, but let's say high, only because it is higher than the other. Oh, répondez, versez-moi. You see, it opens with that. It is in fact a central D, and then moves to much lower and assai più lento. Réponds à ma tendresse, versez-moi libres. This part, after she has finished, versez-moi libres. Then there is the voice of the tenor. Dalila, Dalila. Like, in the background, as making reference to how still she knows that Samson is deeply in love for her. This is what Samson is singing. The second part of the aria goes like Ainsi convenable les épis sont huilés sous la brise légère. Y así como vemos al trigo, a las vainas de trigo ondularse bajo la brisa ligera, as fields of growing corn in the morn bend and sway when the light zephyr rises. Of course, if you speak Spanish, you may already have noticed that the translation into English really doesn't have much to do with the actual content in French. Ainsi frémit mon cœur, prêt à se consoler à ta voix qui m'est chère. And if you know the music, you may already recall that the orchestra is playing a melody like da 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 da. La flèche est moins rapide à porter le trépas que non la tourmente a volé dans tes bras, a volé dans tes bras. Versez-moi, versez-moi l'ivresse. Réponds ma tendresse. Réponds ma tendresse. Versez-moi, versez-moi l'ivresse. If you notice in this second repetition, there is this somehow you feel like the drama is building as she says, La flèche est moins rapide, apportez l'autre pas, and then it slows down. Que nollet ton amante a volé dans tes bras, a volé dans tes bras. Less rapid is the dart in its death-dealing flight. Then I spring to the light, to my place on thy heart, to my place on thy heart. And then it happens again what I mentioned earlier, that the singer can make the continuous melody of the final phrase à voler dans tes bras, and with the starting par répondre à ma tendresse. À voler dans tes bras. I wanted to mention also that by the end of this beautiful aria, after she has said, Ah, versez-moi l'ivresse. When it is sung on stage, then it starts or joins the voice of Samson saying, Dalila, Dalila, But sometimes when it is just a concerto or a presentation by a recital by the mezzo, she usually takes those final notes, and so she says Samson, Samson, je t'aime. Usually the last note is supported or kept by the mezzo until the end, so that the orchestra wraps up at the same time the melody, the music, with the voice. And this is usually a very charming way of wrapping up this aria, very much well-known aria. I remember that the first time I fell in love with it is when I saw Marilyn Horne's rendition of this very, very beautiful aria. She's one of the mezzos that are contraltos that like to sing the final part that is for Samson. Still, I wanted now to mention that another very well-known piece of music in this Samson Dalila is not really a vocal part, but an instrumental part, if I am allowed to call it like that, because even though it is just music, it is more that because it is a ballet. Of course, I am talking about the hyper famous Bacchanale, the Samson Dalila. This Bacchanale makes reference to an orgy. You know that in this composition, I will say the enemies of Samson are believers of another god, so they are portrayed like that, having an orgy and making this all a celebration for the god Dagon, the god of the other people That's what is portrayed here. But this very lovely music of the Bacchanale, if you have never heard or seen the Bacchanale, I really invite you to go into your favorite platform, YouTube, Spotify, or whatever it is, and look for the Bacchanale of Samson and Dalila, and look for that bright, seductive, somehow lastive music composed by Maestro Camille Saint-Saëns. If you know it, you know that it opens the dun, 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 and there is also this very rhythmical music, obsessive, if I could tell you. And this is a very attractive number in the on the stage opera productions of Samson and Dalila. Of course, there are many times where it is portrayed in a very classical way, with the costumes of the dancers, and not much further of what could expect of a celebration for a god. And sometimes there's been very creative productions on the stage that do very interesting things with the ballet. Sometimes, as they, I was telling you, this is in fact an orgy. They somehow make the dancers as well to make some of these incitations to sex on the stage. So it really depends on what you find on video, if you happen to be so lucky that you find it performed in your city. Either way, I really invite you to watch this Bacchanale, this lovely ballet part in the composition of Maestro Camille Saint-Saëns. And to wrap up my comments for today, I would like to mention that it is again, depends on on what is said on stage, that you may find that there are very creative proposals, and because at the end, that Samson needs to destroy the temple. So he's taken to the columns of the temple, and he begs God to give him his force again so that he can destroy the Philistines and the temple of the Philistines and everybody in it. There have been a couple of cases where it has been very, very successful in making people believe that Samson is actually destroying the temple and the theater itself, where you are watching Samson and Dalila. And there are some others that are not believable at all. When you happen to have that achievement, it is very attractive, because at the end you understand what the source of the power of Samson is. I really, really want to invite you again to watch this very beautiful creation by Maestro Camille Saint-Saëns. He gave us this unforgettable piece of music that really enlightens our lives. Thank you very much. I hope to see you very soon.